Hey, welcome everybody. It's another wonderful morning and another episode of Playconomy. Thank you all for jumping in. I'm excited to be here. I have only half a coffee in me so far, so bear with me as my coherence level slowly increases throughout the show today. But I'm excited. I'm jumping on with Sean and Seb. We're excited to dig in and maybe play some Web 2 games, do some fun things. It'll be cool. Real quick before we hop in, a couple housekeeping items. The first being, if you missed it, Digital Asset Summit New York was amazing. It went out with a banger. It just finished up yesterday, and we have one more for Blockworks coming up in October. So if you're across the pond and you're speaking, it would have been the Queen's English, but now it's the King's English. In London, pour one out for my homie. We're going to be doing it in London, middle of October. Check it out, blockworks.co, the DAS London event. Check it out there. The other thing that we have from a housekeeping point is someone in this great big world believes in the content that Rebecca and I are putting out there. Don't tell them that it's all a crock. But we have our first sponsor, and we got this handy-dandy logo. SXBet is joining us. And I have put on my advertising hat. All right, I am going to be reading, and I'm very excited. I'm going to be reading the first ad that I've ever written for the show Playconomy. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Seb, for bearing with me as we set through this. So, this is, and let me collect myself. Okay, and scene. Everyone, the ball is in your court. You can either sink or swim. Play hardball or step up to the plate and check out SXBet and get the ball rolling. You know me to hit it out of the park and hang tough. So that's why I know the folks at SXBet are heavy hitters on the betting field. SXBet is the largest blockchain betting company platform by both volume and users, with over 225 million in bets since its inception. Take a deep dive into their platform with the best nail biters and put your horse in the race with this easy-to-use peer-to-peer betting platform. Bet on major professional sports, esports, which is what we're doing today, crypto, NFTs, and more. Better yet, don't just beat the house, own the house by being your own book. Now that's a hat trick. Time to roll with the punches and come out swinging just in time for my favorite time of year, NFL season. I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm going to be running the victory lap once I'm located not in the U.S. and can totally use sxbet.com or bestsx.bet. I was never picked last for sports in grade school, so all of this stuff, you can totally believe me like a doctor. Trust me, I know sports. And just in case from this ad you didn't get your fill in common sports phrases yet, sticky wicket, taking the gloves off, curveball, out of left field, we want a pitcher, not a belly itcher, and pipped to the post, sx.bet. Let's play ball. All right. What did you guys think? First ad.
It's pretty amazing.
Okay. All right. I need the crowd to love me. This is everything I do. Thank you so much. And thank you, SXBet.
That was amazing. Loved it.
Thanks.
So many references.
I literally, for this ad, I Googled 50 top common sports phrases and then put them all into this one ad. I also don't know what pipped to the post is, so I'm wondering if that's like a cricket thing or I don't know. We'll figure it out.
To the post, I think, is it like a horse racing thing, right? Just pip to the post. You basically
have that at Happy Valley, wouldn't they, Sean?
Yeah, they have it in Hong Kong. Yeah, in Oz, right? The Melbourne Cup. We have a public holiday in Melbourne for a horse race. So there you go. Pip. Yeah, basically, I think I've heard that before.
Nice. Well, well, perfect. Well, thank you guys for bearing with me with that. I appreciate that, and thank you, SX.bet. Go check them out. If you're not in the U.S., you can't check them out. Legal reasons, because the U.S. loves gambling. But everyone else can go check them out. But Sean, Seb, thank you guys for jumping in here today. I guess real quick, why don't you give a brief introduction, who you are, what's going on in the world, and then we can get into the fun stuff, play some video games.
Cool. I'll go first. Hi guys, my name's Sean, the CEO and co-founder of Talon. Just to talk a little bit about Talon, what we're trying to build here. Essentially, we're trying to build the next major digital sporting franchise. So what I mean by that is, can we build the next Lakers, the New York Yankees, the Chelseas, your Man Cities of the esports world from Asia? And so our end objective is to build this Talon brand to be across 10 to 15 of the top esports and have a presence all across APAC from Japan down to Australia. So that's what we're building. We have a lot of other businesses which are kind of tied to the esports and gaming side of things. But at the 30,000 foot view, we're basically trying to build the next major sporting franchise. But instead of it being in traditional sports, it's basically within sort of gaming and esports.
Nice. And then Seb.
Yeah, Sebastian, the co-founder and current CEO of Yesports. We have built the largest Web3 esports engagement platform. So, we've got tools and products that allow any esport fan and any gamer out there to get closer to the teams that they love and get experiences they couldn't get anywhere else. Our first product went live with Talon Esports just earlier this month, and it's a digital NFT membership product. So if you're watching this and you're interested to see what we're up to, jump on yesports.gg and pick yourself up a Talon membership and see what they're about as well. So very big believers in the convergence of Web3 and esports and gaming.
Nice. Well, very cool, guys. I'm excited because this is the first time, I like to consider myself a professional gamer, and that's only because I have the show, and as of today, SXBet pays me to play video games, so that's fantastic. But I'm not actually very good at any of the games, so it's cool to be on with people who are talking to people who are fostering the next generation of top tier players. But there's a reason that we all got into this in the first place, and I'd love to just understand what's your favorite game of all time. Just brings you back every time. It doesn't matter where you are. If that game intro music comes on, you're like, oh yeah, that brings me back.
I would say for me, the first game that I kind of really got sucked into the story and the lore and the whole sort of art direction of everything was a game called Baldur's Gate 2. It's basically a Dungeons and Dragon game. I'm not sure if you guys remember. I'm probably showing my age by mentioning this game. But for me, the story and the way it was structured and everything was hand-drawn. So it was amazing because the detail and everything was ridiculous. But that was, for me, for a single-player game, one of the most enthralling. I got sucked into that game and just disappeared for multiple weeks for a summer holiday. On the competitive side of things, when I was growing up, and CS 1.6 is still, for me, one of the games that we remember. We spent so many hours in LANs in Australia when I was growing up playing that game, Unreal Tournament, and also sort of Quake 2, Quake 3. Those games were kind of the competitive side that we played. So yeah, but when it comes to nostalgia, I think Baldur's Gate 2 for me is probably one of the best games I've ever played for story, art direction, and I still remember most of the story. That's kind of how it stuck with me.
Wow. Yeah. So it's good that you brought up Baldur's Gate because I am the largest D&D nerd. I'm actually running a campaign right now where we started in Baldur's Gate and we went to hell. It's a whole thing. But me and my brother would play that game a lot growing up. So I'm intimately familiar with that one as well. So that's awesome. And then Sebastian, what's your favorite game? What got you into what you're doing today? I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up, Sean and I, again, probably showing our age, but we grew up in a time where, things were hand-drawn or in real life. And then, the last 5 or 10 years, they've come online. So an example of that for me is Magic the Gathering. Growing up and playing that with my older brother and then now seeing that it's a tournament online and, having great friends that are, have no sense for the history of that game, but very big fans of it. And then the other one, it's a bit more of a classic, high school game for us was Halo, and it was one of those games that that was just every weekend. We didn't have much of a life other than that with my close high school friends. I think it's a tradition. I guess maybe in the US, we go on spring break and you go away to a beachside thing in high school to celebrate, graduation, and all of our friends. Instead of doing anything particularly exciting, rented a house and drunk Red Bull for for a day straight and played Halo, and
I feel
then
like we've all experienced that maybe once or twice. Yeah.
became adults at some point. So
Yeah.
it takes me back every time that as you were saying, every time you kind of hear the music of that, sort of takes you back to a happier place.
Yeah. And that it's really the episodes. The show just came out on Paramount Plus. So if you're looking to relive a little bit of nostalgia, they play some of the music in that show, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember being in a dark basement with my friends until like 3 a.m. doing that stuff. But that's really cool, guys. Yeah, thank you for bringing me back to a couple good memories for sure. So I'd love to dig in. Like right now, I watch Twitch, I've seen the League of Legends championships and stuff like that. But like for me, what I am super curious about from you is like you sit on top of this gaming organization. What do you see as like what are your thoughts on like the state of games today, the state of esports today, and like where are we like now and where you imagine things will go?
Yeah, I think from a gaming perspective, I think as an entertainment form compared to, say, movies or music or television, I think gaming will continue to accelerate to become one of the most sort of the largest entertainment platform, both by revenue and also by just user bases. Because you can see now, like even when I was growing up, I had Nintendo Entertainment System, or starting with that. But then a lot of the kids that are growing up today, are automatically being built or understanding this sort of gaming community, and there's a huge move towards it because the graphic quality, the internet speeds, the sort of the gamification, the way you interact with your friends, Discord, Twitch, all these different platforms are just providing this fantastic sort of means for people to connect and build. And gaming for me, and I think there's always been about communities and playing with your mates. I mean, it's very different playing League of Legends by yourself versus playing with your mates. But now that it's so much more easier to do that, whether it be your friends in another country or next door, to be able to communicate and play together, I think that's really amazing how that's progressed. And the graphics are only going to get better. I think the internet speeds are only get faster. The games are only going to get better. And so there's this huge trend and momentum and sort of, I guess, what you could call sort of like a wind that's pushing this industry across. As a byproduct of that, we've seen this growth in esports, and the competitive side of gaming has really become over the, at least what we've seen for the last 5-6 years, really blow up. A lot of the leagues are franchising, the viewership's growing, the sponsorships are growing, all these things, all these trends are going in the right direction. There's a lot of venture capital money in the space as well, and there's a lot of teams being built. So, overall, I think, we're in a pretty good space. I honestly think in the next 5 to 10 years, probably half of the most watched sports in the world will be some form of video game. And I think, I'm copying the right CEO's comments here, but I think that's absolutely true. If you look at sort of the way sort of young fans, millennials and Gen Zs are taking content and consuming content, that's really being taken there as well. I think one of the biggest issues that sort of esports teams face today is really around monetization. There's a big emphasis on sponsorship. There's a big emphasis on all these different revenue lines that you can bring in. But I don't think anyone's really cracked the sort of code of how to monetize your fans in the right way. Because you can see like a lot of the listed esports teams, like, and I think it's true across all the private esports teams as well, is that they're very much loss-making entities right now. That's probably one of the biggest concerns and issues that a lot of the industry is facing. And you see like wages for players accelerating very quickly and kind of not keeping pace potentially with sort of publisher fees or sort of sponsorships or TV rights deals. And so there is that gap that's existing there. But I think that will close over time with different sort of initiatives and ideas. But overall, I would say I'm super optimistic about the space. I think gaming is going to continue to accelerate super fast, and esports will kind of ride on the tailgates of that as long as we have publishers who are developing sort of sustainable scenes within the esports space. And I think, it's only going to get bigger because Gen Zs and millennials, the way they're engaging with sort of sport per se is around this gaming and esports side, which I think is super interesting and exciting.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big developments that just happened in the past couple of days is Discord can now integrate with Xbox. So it's like it's soon enough like platform won't be the barrier to your community, because it's going to be cross-platform. Like, as much as the PC master race is going to hate on anyone who's playing on a console with them, but like that is like knocking down those barriers opens up so much more community for everyone, and I think that drives such a adoption, especially with the Gen Z and millennials that you're talking about. So that's really cool to hear. And so so you are thinking about like as much as it's like kind of bad to say, but like monetizing the fan base. But like, you know, you're garnering this, like I think about my the attention in the audience that I'm building here, and I want to make sure that they are getting like the best content, like the best things possible for them, because they're engaging with me on a regular basis. I think we have a great relationship going back and forth. So you tapped in Sebastian. So like how is this relationship working? I'm super curious to hear like what esports brings to the table for someone like Talon.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we face and have issues right now with our fan bases is how do we kind of reward and connect those who really are interacting with us on a daily basis, right? And you know, it's very hard, particularly a team like us, which is split across APAC, and we have, you know, teams in different languages, different platforms, and our social media and our fan bases are incredibly split. And so, you know, we might have a fan that likes every single Facebook post, you know, likes every tweet, follows every, you know, comments on every Instagram, watches every live stream of our game, and, you know, basically does everything they can to support us. And we don't even know about it, right? And we can't reward them for that. And so realistically, when we're looking at technologies to kind of build upon that, you know, talking with Seb in the early days, it was like, how can we find better ways to connect with fans? I mean, monetization is something that comes after, but the thing is like, how do we understand who's really the most hardcore fan that's with us every single day, thick and thin, watching every game, buying every single piece of merch and developing all of that, and really working with them and understanding sort of how we can build on that. And secondly, it's kind of like the technology around sort of, you know, if those fans really do love us, how do we find ways that we can interact better with them by providing them unique opportunities and experiences that we can't give them in any other way, you know, just by saying, hey, you know, do this or do that. So I think by having this sort of technology and what Seb has built with Yesports and the membership program, and almost the product feeling like a Web 2 product as well, is that we're having these new ways that we can build social engagement, kind of blend these two communities together, and also reward those fans who are truly sort of hardcore, passionate fans within our space, and give them sort of really unique opportunities to be a part of our community. So just for example, some of the utility that we've provided is like, you know, we might shoot a music video. We might shoot a music video for, because so in Thailand, we play in a league called ROV. At the start of every game, there's a little 15-30 second TV ad that we run on behalf of our sponsors to basically give them some airtime and basically show that off. So
if you're looking for someone to write ads, by the way, I'm a fabulous ad writer. I don't know if you noticed at the beginning.
Yes.
So you can tap me in anytime. I'm here.
Yeah. And so, you know, we can use that and say, okay, hey, if you're a diamond owner of our membership program, we're going to grab 5 of our diamond members by a lucky draw, get them to come in, and we're going to film this content piece together, and you can be a part of sort of Talon, right? And if we qualify, let's say, for an international tournament like AWC or AIC, which are the 2 major tournaments for ROV, we want to give 2 of our fans tickets to come with us backstage and experience what it's like going through the whole tournament of rocking up to a game, preparing for the game, the wins, the losses, the heartbreak, you know, all the great moments of winning championships as well. And that's what I mean by building that additional connectivity and ability to really allow the fans to be a part of our club, right? Because it's a little bit harder compared to a traditional sports club where you have a physical space that you go to regularly. Because if you're watching, let's say, you know, a basketball game, you go to the Staples Centers for the Lakers and you can see them there. And obviously not everybody can go because it's expensive. But in esports, a lot of it's digital, but there's still that same fandom and need to come and meet and greet and build all of that. And we will kind of love the fact that we have this technology now to be able to do that and execute. I mean, we don't, to be honest, as an esports team, we don't have the tech execution capability. So to be able to leverage Seb's team and their sort of what they've built, this white label solution to allow us to leverage that and easily kind of add and build upon that, I think that's very valuable because, you know, it just, that's not our expertise. Our expertise is building a brand and winning, and leveraging sort of the technology that Seb has built, I think is what we kind of want to develop. But a lot of it is really around fan engagement. How do we take that to the next level? Because I think in esports right now, it's not quite there because it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on Twitter, it's on Twitch, it's on YouTube. And with those platforms, while we have good insights, we don't own them. So to eventually have them in a place where everybody's together to be able to work on that, I think that becomes much more powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, I mean, just some of those experiences are super cool, and to have the option to like be a part of that. I can't think of how many people are willing to spend money on like backstage passes to their favorite entertainment artist or what have you, or be in the backstage of a show that's getting filmed. That's why everyone wants to be involved. So that's just, I don't know, that's super cool. Plus you get to meet like your quote unquote heroes, right? You're probably like trying to practice and see if you can like get randomly matched in a League of Legends match versus whoever, and hope that you can compete. So that's pretty cool. And so why, I guess, Sebastian, why, when you were thinking about esports, like why this aspect of it for you? Why were you thinking, this is how I want to attack it, this is where I want to go?
Yeah, I mean, we've been big fans of what's going on in the esports space, for a number of years now. One thing I, should have mentioned at the top of the call is, we're small shareholders in Talon as well. We've been sort of ride or dies with them as long as Sean, has been able to give us the opportunity. And so, we're big fans of what's happening. We think, like Sean does, that this market is one that is hugely underrated in terms of the attention it gets from, I'm just, going to use some pretty high level terms, but just from the traditional sort of world, it kind of gets ignored, notwithstanding the fact that in terms of eyeballs from, the generations, in the sort of 16 to 30-year-olds or 34-year-olds is bigger than, a lot of the traditional sport out there. So, there's tons of great examples of data points there that speak to that. Our minutes watched of, League of Legends, finals is greater than, minutes watched of the NFL, for example, or the NBA. So
yeah, I heard a stat that was every day, millennials and younger generations scroll through. It's like, Kay told me this, so shout out Kay if you're watching this right now. It's like we go through, it's either 3.5, it's like 3.5 miles or something like that of news feed per day is how much we scroll if you like measured it out. It's like I don't remember the specific statistic, but I was floored when I heard that. So yeah, I can totally understand, you're trying to capture this attention.
I'm a bit upset, that we're doing so much there. I need to get 10,000 steps up a day, and
I know I got 10,000 thumb swipes going all day, every day. If you only put a Fitbit here instead of on my wrist, I'd be set.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely believe it. I think we all see that day to day in terms of where we spend our time. But for whatever reason, there's a multitude of them, but it's sort of been inaccessible. Esports has been inaccessible for, traditional marketing firms. A lot of that's changing, and changing very quickly, and rightly so. We've always prided ourselves as a business and, as a team to be able to build, technology ahead of the curve to sort of, speed up, things like this, speed up the way with which people can actually get access to, the esports teams, and that fans can actually do a lot more with them. So, I think, the one thing that we've been delighted to be able to do is, pull a piece of tech together that, really harnesses all of the power of things that are going on in Web3 and packages it up in a way that is just hugely user-friendly, and hugely kind of intuitive for teams, and solves, a ton of their problems without, necessarily sort of being an in-your-face NFT product or an in-your-face sort of complicated crypto project. And so, for us to be able to do that in this market and do it in a way that, so far, touching wood, has been very much, appreciated by the teams we're working with, and in turn, something that fans are sort of starting to accept and starting to, sort of comfortably adopt is a really wonderful thing to see. And, there's the market there is huge. We've got, I think the stat 500 million gamers out there, and we've got, sort of, tens of millions of folks that have done things within the Web3 space, downloading wallets and and interacting, and those two markets sort of should be interacting a lot more, and our products are starting to make that a lot more seamless as well. So I think that's very much from a fan point of view. Like, we want the fans to have the best experience they can with their teams, and we have a really nifty bit of tech that solves that.
Yeah, and shout out to one of the big fans, Geraldine. Thank you for showing up today. We appreciate it. Shout out. Are you guys on an unbeaten run right now? Is that what's going on? The Talon team?
I don't know, but we have a lot of teams, so maybe.
You just gotta say yes.
Yes, we do. Yes. Across multiple games.
That's really awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the stats that recently came out, I think like earlier this week, was like last week, over half of the venture funding that came into Web3 was going to games and other GameFi oriented projects. So like, I'm of two minds on why that is. One, I think think about the business side. We're going into a recession. We're going into like a tough time for people on their wallets. And what can you get a lot of entertainment out of for the dollar value that you're spending? Games. The other thing I'm thinking is like, we've all been dating ourselves so far on this episode. We're the people now who are like running the businesses, and we all played video games when we were young. So like, why wouldn't we want to invest in like things that we like actively believe in? Because when we were younger, that's how we spent time with our community, with our friends. So like so that's like my other big thing is like, if I were a VC with just like write and cut and check, if I were A16Z, every other day I'd be investing in a game, because I'm like, this would be awesome. If you make a 3D sprite of me in this game, I will give you $1 million right now. So I don't know, that's a big thing for me. And so from your business perspective, Sean, like, you said one of the toughest things right now, right, is monetization, right? A lot of these teams are more sinks than they are revenue generating. So something like this, what does this do for the business or like, how big is the opportunity here in comparison with all the other like sponsorship dollars that you guys are trying to bring in? Interested.
Yeah, I think because, I mean, with the sponsorship dollars, these are once-off pieces that are with brands, and these brands will come and go, right? And obviously with different economic cycles, these may change, but overall the games that we invest in, the viewership trends are going up, and so these sponsorship dollars will continue to go up. And I would say that for a lot of teams right now, probably the expense side is running a lot faster ahead than the revenue side, right? And so when you look at ways in which you can kind of obviously stabilize that or break even, is to look at new ways you can build revenue. And for a lot of esports teams, obviously for like, let's say traditional football team, you can sell jerseys, right? This is something that's very natural, and we have that in esports as well. You can sell jerseys, and I think it's obviously something that one way which you can monetize against fans. But one thing that a lot of football clubs, let's say in the English Premier League, do really well is like club memberships, right? Like these yearly club memberships, and the same for any of the US franchises as well. You have these club memberships where you pay a certain amount, guarantees you a certain seats at certain games, and you get certain access and benefits from that. And I think in esports, not many teams right now have developed some sort of mechanism that allows them to do that in an easy way. Because what's different is that a lot of the time, if you look at, let's say, English football club, a lot of it is the fans may be somewhat, although it may be international, a lot of the fans that go to the games on Saturdays and Sundays are ones that live around that particular area. But in esports, you kind of blow that out, because then it just becomes a global product, and it's not like people have a physical location or place that they can gather with other fans to kind of really build that, right? And so if you look at our League of Legends team or the Thai ROV team, it's most of those guys live online, but at the same time, they still want to celebrate together with other Talon fans. They do want to kind of hang out with them. And I think with some of the metaverse products that we're talking about with Esports in the future, when we implement, there's going to be that ability to integrate and build and hang out together and hang out with your fans. And so we already see that in some of our products, like our Discord is a really interesting space right now. We've given it to fans to run it. They run their own events. They run their different things. We bring the players in for meets and greets. And all those little interactions are what's really valuable, but we want to take it to that next level of depth, right? And so being able to do that with tech and be able to track what's been done and who what we owe what and things like that, I think is really, really, really powerful. But yeah, I think it's just that additional layer is really important, and I think having that is really, really powerful. I mean, talk a little bit also about what you mentioned before about the gaming side. I think, with the NFTs and Web3 stuff, I think it really is about the technology catching up and it almost feeling seamless for the fans, where it doesn't feel like an NFT. It doesn't feel like it's a clunky product where I have to write down 48 little terms to remember in case I lose my wallet and things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think the technology, if it's going to be widely adopted, needs to move into a way where it's easy for people to use, right? And I think what we've built with Seb as well is very simple in a sense that you just need an email address. You can sign up, everything's done for you in the back end, you get the product, and then it's an easy, seamless way, almost Web 2 like, to interact and build that product. Because in the end, like, we have fans, some of them are big lovers of crypto because Gen Zs and millennials, they trade a lot of their stuff, they collect a lot of NFTs, but at the same time, we can't assume that 100% of them will know what's going on. And we know what people's attention spans are like now, right? If it's a little bit difficult, they kind of get switched off it. So it being almost easy and integrated, you can use a credit card and everything is done really simply, kind of just makes it a lot easier. And I think for gamers as well, the key thing is we're used to owning digital products when it comes to our games, right? When you have Call of Duty or you have League, you buy these skins and these skins are digital. And right now there's no way to transfer them to anyone, right? If you buy the LV skin for League of Legends and you got it and you paid $200 for the Senna and Kiana skin, you can't give it to someone else. It's locked to account. You may sell the account. But I think there's ways to, do some of that in the future, trade it with publishers. I think it becomes really interesting. I think that will still take some time because the technology needs to catch up. But I think the overall trend is going to be towards that. And I think if you can make it seamless and easy, that's what's going to be super powerful, which we're super excited by.
Yeah. I mean, the big the big news is we're all still here this morning, and the merge happened last night. Actually, I haven't checked crypto Twitter because I really just had my coffee and then sat down for this. But I assume everything's still, I don't know. I assume everything's still working. So hopefully that leads to more seamless interactions in the future.
Yeah, it's still working, and your Twitter feed will have #merge everywhere.
I saw a chain going around last night that was I do not consent to this merge. I don't want my tokens to be merged at Vitalik. I don't give you permission. If you share this message, Vitalik will not be allowed to merge your tokens or something. It was one of those old email chain things where send this to 10 people or if you have bad luck in your love life forever. Yeah. It was very funny. We have a question from the audience too. So if you guys are out there listening and paying attention on the internet, please ask a ton of questions. We want to pull it up. But I think it's a very good question, which is basically, it's around one of the big things that I think is so paramount to the next generation, the next billion players, right? There's 3 billion players, is the vitriol that is around NFTs in general. So how is the community responding now that you guys rolled out the Yesports, the NFTs? I'm curious how your community is responding in comparison to maybe the depths of Reddit, the threads that I see about NFTs there.
I would say that we've kept a close eye on sort of what a lot of Western and European teams have been doing on the NFT side of things, and I think the feedback has been somewhat mixed, right? And I think a lot of the feedback is somewhat valid. At the same time, some of it not always as valid, right? So I think the key thing is for us is that generally I would say that our RV community that we've shared it to has been incredibly positive about the opportunities. I think, they really want to have a deeper interaction with the teams. And the way the technology works, as Seb is mentioning, is that we've kind of built it in a way that it's kind of a Web 2 product. We avoided the word NFT. It's basically a membership program. It does come as that product and you can trade it. And if you've taken certain things out throughout the year, you've used that utility, it's gone, but it's tradable. But we don't need people to have that, to know that it's like that from day one. It's very simple. You sign up with an email, you put your credit card in, you get it from day one, that utility exists, and you can access it from day one. And so overall would say that, at least from our ROV fan and our Asian fan bases, we really haven't had negative feedback. Occasionally you'll have 1 or 2 people on Twitter say something, but where a majority of our Thai fans live on Facebook, it's been very positive. And I think generally in, just from what we've seen in our community, I think, we do a lot of due diligence, making sure that if we show stuff to our community that we really believe in the product and we're going to go into it. And having spent such a long time with Seb talking about this, we always make sure that we share that the stuff that we share is stuff that we really believe in and want to build in long term. And so I think overall our fan bases have been incredibly sticky. And so when we show them stuff, generally they're very responsive to it. And I would say, no, we haven't really had any negative feedback at all. And if anything, it's been taken up quite well. And we want to continue to extend that more and more so to our additional teams as we build them into the future. And I think if you can create real utility and add real value for the price you pay for something, and not say, okay, I'm going to put it out there, it's going to be traded, it's going to get flipped for whatever reason. We're there to build something for the fans to interact with, and those who own it can really be like, hey, I'm this member tier, like I've done all these things at Talon, and therefore here's my little special recognition, and here's all the amazing things I can access through that. And I think the key is just the quality of the product that eventually, as we build out with Seb, we want to deliver is going to be the key. So it will speak for itself. I don't think we need to sugarcoat it in any particular way. But overall, I would say, to sum it up, very positive. And, we haven't received any sort of backlash to be able to do this. And I think the key thing is we're providing real utility, and it's not just a picture and hoping that it kind of gets flipped, right? So that's something that I've emphasized to Seb a lot, that we really talked about, is we want to deliver stuff that's really cool for the fans, and things that I mentioned before. And like we talked about, can I play with our pro players? One of the key utilities when we ask our fans, what do you guys want? It's like, can we spend time playing with your influencers? Can I get a one-on-one coaching session with the pro coach? Can I play with the pro players? Like getting opportunities to do that on a monthly basis is also something really unique that we've tied into the utility and the membership program, which is really cool. So I think, it's been positive, and we're going to keep adding more stuff to it so that, the fans are really, who are hardcore fans of our team, really are getting something special and unique from it versus those who may not choose to participate.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd love to have a picture of a monkey worth several $100,000, but yeah, I think that's a really important distinction, especially going into what I believe is like the future of player ownership, Web3 gaming, like everything that's coming down the pike. I believe in the next 3 to 5 years is the focus right now today is like, what is the floor price? How can I flip it? Versus, hey, like what I love is the positioning here. It's like, hey, I have a membership that gets me all of this stuff. If ever there's a point where I'm just over the membership, I can sell that to someone else who may feel as strongly as I did at one point about this. Your fans are never going to go away, so that's never going to happen. But just in case something happens, maybe they're leaving the membership in their will for their grandchildren so that they can take over for Talon future down the road, set it up. So there's a smart contract out there that'll do that for them at some point. But no, I really love that positioning. So Sebastian, you're partnered with Talon now. Like, what's next for Yesports? Where are things kind of going? What do you see as the next steps?
Yeah, I mean, we've been very deliberative in how we built the product, and Sean's been very generous, with the team's time to make sure that the things we're building, are primarily extremely valuable for fans first and foremost.
Do the players like it, like that are on your team, Sean? And do you like? Sebastian, I'm sure you're talking to them a lot too. Do they like the idea of like all of this that's going on?
Yeah, I think the fans, the pro players really like to interact with the fans, right?
Oh,
and I
awesome.
think I mean it's part of their job, and they are superstars in their own rights, right? Like I mean, you walk on the streets with some of these guys, and you'll have people come up regularly, just be like, "Can I take a photo?" Oh my God, it's this and that, and can I get a selfie? And we don't realize that because I guess in Asia, like all these different countries have different games that are really popular, and their famous players are all very different, and but it's there, and interacting with fans is always great. And if there are ways that it's in a structured way, or being able to do more interesting things with the fans rather than just being like signing some stuff or doing some things, I think they're always excited. And being able to give back, they understand that and it's something that we also understand as an organization. We only exist because the fans are there to cheer us on, and everything we do should be for them. And the players understand that. And so that's something that's really special. And I think the key thing is within esports, that connectivity and that closeness is almost within touching distance, right? Because if you want to be a pro player, anybody can be a pro player, put the time and effort, right? But if I wanted to be an NBA player, let's say, genetically, I'm already stunted, right? I can't dunk, right? And that's the biggest issue that we've got there.
You can dunk on your enemies in League of Legends, but you can't actually dunk in person.
In real life, it's not possible. But in esports, that levels out. And in gaming, it levels out, right? So I think, it's really cool to be able to provide that additional level of interactivity with fans and our players. So they love it. It's great because it's just something that's not like we don't have the tech to be able to do that, right? And now we
Yeah.
do. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just super curious to hear like a player reaction. But yeah, so I'm curious. What's next as the kind of next steps? You have this technology. You partner with Talon. Where's it go?
Yeah, I mean, so we're speaking of players, like we're rolling it out with pro players and also with more esports teams as well. So we've got maybe a dozen orgs and players lined up for
Wow.
the next 6 months or so. Basically, I think every 3 weeks or so, we'll start a new shop front with the teams. And so coming up, we've got Boom Esports out of Indonesia. Those guys are doing exceptionally well in Dota 2. The international in Singapore, so it'll be sort of the first time those guys have be representing Boom and I guess Indonesia at the international there, which will be awesome. So yeah, then we've got Infinity Esports, huge out of Latin America, working with those guys not only to build out the shop front and the membership product, but also kind of doing a deep dive with a big org there to look into what else that they what other ambitions they have in Web3, for example. One thing that is coming out with Talon and Infinity and some of these other bigger teams is that there's a real interest in exploring the creation of more online spaces to bring the fan engagement and make it much more tactile. The concept there is basically like, how do you build an esports metaverse? What could you do that would allow fans to really just become extremely immersed into the fandom and the esport team environment. And so some of the concepts that are becoming sort of much more real in that regard are things like esports arena, digital arenas where the fans can hang out, watch the tournaments, go to online events, have partner the team sponsors sort of partnering and bringing activities in there. So bringing the kind of esports environment to life in a way that sort of, as Sean says, really collapses the the distance that sort of exists in that fandom, or the geographic distance that exists in the fandom at the moment, where you've kind of got fans all over the world and teams playing all over the world. So it's kind of hard to have a home ground and you rock up every week when the season's on and you can feel very you can feel the fever that you get in sort of traditional sports. We want to replicate that environment, replicate that community, and bring that very much into real life or into existence digitally as well. So that's another kind of key experience and product that we're working very hard, and the teams are working very hard to bring to life as well. But yeah, I mean, it's really around continuing to launch the membership products, which we see are working and see are being something of great interest to teams. Continuing to refine that, always listening and understanding what's working and where we can improve and make sure that the fans are sort of understanding and getting the value out of it. And then starting to kind of tease out some of the beautiful things that the Web3 products actually allow us to do. So making the loyalty and the rewards much easier for teams to start recognizing who are the kind of super fans, what are those super fans up to, being able to really sort of tranche out the different categories of fans that they have and really cater to products and experiences and things that really matter with those fans. So you mentioned like the overlap that's coming with with Discord and Xbox and this sort of the console barriers that are dropping. Like all of a sudden you can start to use our product to really be like, okay, if you're an NFT holder or you're a membership holder and you're primarily on a in Discord on on an Xbox, then we can have a product that speaks specifically to that, and we have our tech sort of allows us to be able to sort of recognize that and and target those fans to to elevate that experience. So there's a lot of cool things we really want to bring to the fore that that make this product make sense for why it's in the Web3 space. And then one of the other things that have sort of just come out even in the last 2 weeks since we've launched with Talon is a ton of inbound from the traditional sports world as well.
Really?
So, yeah, pro football teams.
That goes to this question from Geraldine. Any kinds of partnerships with football clubs like the Premier League? So that's actually perfect timing. Thank you, Geraldine.
Yeah, that was pre-prepared, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So we've had pro teams now in Southeast Asia, pro football teams, reach out and say, like, we'd love to use that product. How can we, bring that to life? And the reason kind of that we're starting to hear for why this is relevant is that, professional sports teams, they're sort of struggling to stay relevant for, the younger demographic. There's this sort of, they're kind of analog sports, and, and it's hard to sort of it's harder to stay relevant, it seems, for younger generations of fans. And so, it seems to be a thing that, a lot of franchises are really contemplating how to continue to make themselves, interesting and continue to be attractive to the younger generations. And so, our product is something that is, very much, can potentially help those teams solve that problem. Being an interesting way to onboard new fans, or to be relevant to sort of fans in, Gen Z and the like. So, short answer is, looks like we'll sign sort of some pro football teams this month, and start to expand that. We've in chats with some of the teams in the women's NBA as well, and some of the sort of cricket franchises across the world in different regions too.
Sticky wicket, I know that. That's a phrase now. I learned that for this episode specifically.
No, we haven't. What was it? Pit past the post. We haven't.
Yeah, pit past the post. Not yet. Yeah, we'll throw that in a little bit.
Any horse racing companies yet? But there's broad applicability in what we're doing, and we're awesome. Keen to expand that. And then the other thing for like the sort of deep crypto users is, Web3 games, want to incentivize their users as well. Like, they want a product that makes sense for for fans that already get NFTs that don't really matter, and they want to build more loyalty, and they want to kind of really incentivize fans and players to stay within that game environment. And our product sort of speaks to that world as well. So we have a couple of Korean play-to-earn games that are launching with us as well over the course of this year too. So pretty happy and pretty busy across these sort of three pillars of continuing on the esports side, some new traditional sports, and then in the Web3 games as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so I feel like, speaking about the kind of traditional sports world and the esports world, I feel like esports will have made it when there's like a metaverse, and I get to my nosebleed seat in this virtual stadium. I have my haptic vest on that's feeling me pushing through a crowd of really terrible people. Someone spills a little beer on me, and I can smell the popcorn and beer of whatever in the metaverse, and I'm cheering from the nosebleeds, surrounded by a bunch of other drunk and very loyal fans. I'm ready for that Ready Player One experience. That speaks to me in a very big way. But I do have one question too that kind of builds on this. So the play to earn games that are coming on to do right now, it's more fan-based memberships, but I'm wondering both Sean and Sebastian, if you're seeing a lot of esports teams looking hey, what are we paying attention for in Web3 outside of just these membership things? Are you guys actively one of the big things is guilds, and guilds may be sunsetting a little bit, where they have the scholarship program and NFT ownership of these new games that are coming in. Are these things that you guys are exploring, either Sebastian Esports, either helping teams explore these types of things? Or Sean, if you're like thinking about what are the games that I need to be paying attention for my club as we're kind of growing into the future, and this is kind of getting like a little like esoteric and pontificate about the future. I'm excited about this stuff.
I would say you go, mate. Go for it.
Yeah, so just to talk a little bit on the esports side, because I think I better, and I think Seb can probably give much more color on the sort of play to earn stuff. But I would say, gaming is, particularly on the esports side, it's never been, you don't see any games which are play to earn that are big in the esports space where you can pay more because everything should be based on skill. So I think once we see more games move towards, play based on skill, and get rewarded based on skill, I think that becomes really interesting. And I think we would always keep an eye out for those games because I think you can always, at that stage, build an esport that becomes really interesting. At the same time, I think the mechanisms in which games a lot of the top esports were built today, that mechanism and in that environment and being able to put that into a Web3 space becomes really interesting. Because if you look at the way League of Legends was built, you look at the way Dota 2 was built, that came from a Warcraft 3 mod. Right, it wasn't, and basically that's how. And same with CS:GO, right? It was basically a Half-Life mod. But at this stage, the publishers obviously, Warcraft 3 at that stage basically said, they split it off, they built their own thing. But can you imagine a world where it's like Blizzard allowed more of these sub games to be built and economies to be built within there, and they basically can reap like a little bit of those interactions that get built, and then the community can pay accordingly to those who are building within those games and rewarding those that are building that. And there's clips being taken here and there. And we have this whole ecosystem of all these different games being built off a particular engine or particular sort of metaverse. I think that becomes really interesting because then the publisher model shifts towards let the community build it, let the community own those components and develop those together, but we'll support it, but we'll still make a little bit of it rather than charging, $100 for a full-blown game. And so I think that becomes also really interesting from a game developer side. I think from the esports side, the main thing that we're looking for is when's the next competitive Web3 esports game that could be really interesting, where it's not purely based on if I have more money than you, then I win. I don't know how we build those type of games. I'll just say if the cut does come, we're very interested in kind of helping bring our community to that game and developing a scene with that, which I think will be really, really cool. I think there's a lot of interesting ways that the technology can be used. For example, I'm just thinking hypothetically, if League of Legends, you're at Worlds and you won with a particular costume, imagine you could NFT that and sell that like Jordan, his favorite shoes when he won the NBA Finals, the ones that he wore. I think there's a lot of interesting mechanisms that can be leveraged there in the right way. But it will require a big publisher may do it, existing publisher, a new publisher may do it. But we're very excited to see how that technology gets used and developed in the right way so we can then take it and kind of grow it from there. But I think there's a lot of opportunity. It just will come down to when and where it gets implemented and executed. And then I think that esports teams, if they really like that particular game, a lot of that will come naturally.
Yeah. And then Seb, you're about to jump into something too, but I don't know if you're building on that at all. We can take a couple questions from the audience too whenever you're finished.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be brief then. I just say that teams are looking at esports teams are looking at what they can do, in Web3. They're looking at the communities that have been built around games in Web3 and are very impressed by it and sort of recognize the value of having a hugely integrated, hugely engaged, hugely integrated communities. And so, from there's a big parallel in that regard. I think Sean's right, and most of the teams are still, of this mind that play to earn isn't the way forward in terms of how you bring esports games.
Skillfy, Terry, that's a really good thing. I might be turning that phrase. Yeah, Skillfy, I love it.
We've heard of, seen some games that are doing like cheer to earn to incentivize fans. Skillfy sounds like we've come back to the beginning, but I agree that that's where it has to go. And so we're starting to see like indie game developers in Web3 are looking at asking us how they can work with esports teams and their fan bases to get feedback and really to build product or build games that sort of matter. We've had teams that are looking to white label looking to white label Web3 games to to have something for their fans to play in the eventual, metaverses and arenas that are going to be built. So, I think it'll be very casual to start with. They'll be kind of very casual games. They're going to be really around, interesting engagement within the, digital platforms that get built, metaverse or tournaments and the like. And I think it's an inevitability that, we're going to go to a point where a lot more of the interaction is going to be had in a sort of avatarized sort of metaverse or similar type of environment, whether it's built on, what engine it's built on and is powering that experience, is going to be a big question. And, our view is that, the more open that is, the better it is, and the more kind of, crowd built that is, the better it is as well. And, that sort of sticks with our ethos around, why we like, Web3 versus, walled gardens elsewhere. But, at the end of the day, wherever has the critical mass, of fans and users is going to sort of, have a big say in that. And, we're doing our level best to bring that kind of critical mass of fans and players together and really, be the sort of crucible with which great, products get built as well. So, I think it's sort of, there's an inevitability there, and, very exciting inevitability in what's going to happen when these two, big communities collide, and, what gets built out of it.
I mean, I think it's super cool because the biggest driver of crypto adoption in general right now is like wallets getting opened up for Web3 games, because people are thinking like, oh, like this is the first time I can like stick it to my parents and say like, I'm earning money playing video games. Parents, get off my back. I'm working over here. So like it does open up a lot of opportunity, even if it's like, it's not replacing the income or anything like that, but at least like the whatever dollars that I spend on Candy Crush every year, I get a little bit back, and it doesn't feel so hard on the wallet at the end of the year. I think that's like a huge thing. But no, I agree. There's the guy who created Nor, I think his name is Brian Brooks. He talks about what you were talking about, Sean, kind of that there's like a magic circle around. It shouldn't be pay to play. It should be 100% skill based inside of that. But what League of Legends and all these other, and just traditional sports too, like, right? The rules of soccer are the same for anyone other than genetics, which is like not necessarily the same. But outside of that is where all the monetization happens, where all, like, you get sports betting, you get all this other stuff that happens, jerseys, but like the rules are the same to any single person who steps on the field. It doesn't matter if you're the best League of Legends player in the world, or you're just getting started and going through the tutorial, which is the only reason we're not playing League of Legends today, is because I logged in. I made a new account and it's walking me through the tutorial. So I wish we were playing League of Legends right now, everyone. I'm sorry that we're not. But yeah, I have the same chance of winning because it's purely skill based. So I think that is a huge marker to the next level of because I was saying this before we hopped on. I believe that when you get the esports teams playing the game, that's how you know that Web3 games have made it, because you bring along the community, you bring along the passion, you bring along this skill. And what's cool is a lot of the Web3 games that are out there too, they're not just in my opinion, you don't need to be playing on Sean's team in order to be paid to play video games with Web3. That's why I love this, is you could still be mediocre at most of the games. You can still get a little bit of cash at the end of the day. You're not, again, it's not going to be your full-time job. That's why, I don't play on the Talon team, although I know you want me and you've invited me 10 times. Okay. But not today. I'm a content creator first, gamer second. All right. But yeah, so I think that's just a huge opportunity. And, but you guys have been on this call with me now for an hour. I really appreciate the time. I guess, real quick, tell everyone what's going on next. Where can they find you? What's exciting that's up and coming? And then, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow us on a couple of Twitter handles. I mean, Talon Esports, and I think PSG Talon as well. I mean, we've got a lot of different games and leagues running at the moment. Hopefully applying for some new franchises in some new games in new countries. So I think that's also super exciting. So yeah, we'll continue to grind on, getting into new markets, getting into new competitive esports, which I think is always super exciting, building new teams in new regions in Asia. And so that's kind of what we're focused on and what we're building over this next period of time. And added to that is also working on this, how to continue to develop this sort of fan interaction opportunities and really delivering cool stuff that fans want, right? That they can access
Yeah.
with the players and the teams. And so, that's a big focus for us to build and really deliver that.
Nice. And then
Yeah,
Sam?
and we're yesports.gg, so follow us wherever you can find that, and keep up to date. Jump online and grab some memberships off Talon, and stick around as we launch teams every couple of weeks now for forever after.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys again for hopping in. This was a lot of fun. It's nice to get a look from the more traditional side of things, what you guys are thinking about on everything that's happening in Web3 and GameFi. So thanks for jumping in. I really appreciate it. Sean, the only tip I have for you is watch out for month 4. All right, it's that sleep regression is very intense. Just hopefully you survive. Remember the rule: 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Anything that's said, water under the bridge. The rest of you out there on the internet, thank you guys for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. This has been another wonderful episode of Playconomy. I love each and every one of you individually and equally. You guys are awesome. See you soon.